I'm Michele Vitti, and I'm a printmaker and a mixed media artist. So in the past year, I've gone back to printmaking, and I had to leave printmaking for a while for health reasons mostly and physical limitations. And then I took this great class at Shepherd Maudsley print studio, and it was using watercolor for prints. And I loved it. And I thought, whoa, I could start printmaking again. So that's what I've been doing. I've been experimenting with that process. Essentially, my process is a collage process, whatever I do, even if I'm painting. So although I can do straight monotypes, I have not yet produced a straight monotype that's just printed. It always has something glued on it. You know, I could say, oh, this is kind of a nice piece. I like this to be in this, but I don't really want it on here. Suppose I really also want this piece of paper on here and this. So I would glue this, I would put glue on this side. I would just lay it down on the paper. I'd lay down my print plate, and then I'd run it through the press. And the press would make this stick to the substrate, and it would print on top of it. So now the print would be half on the paper and half on the substrate. And it kind of integrates it a lot more. I'm really process and technique focused. I love learning new ways of doing things. And so when I couldn't do traditional printmaking, I, as I said, started to look for low-tech ways of doing it. And, you know, kind of invent different ways of doing it. I love variety and options. And so I never know what I'm going to do before I start, and I like responding to what's there. And if a response is a piece of collage on top of what I just printed, then that's good, and then I'll probably print on top of that. I like that process of layering and one move suggesting another move. You know, and sometimes at the end it looks like, oh, this artist didn't really have much of an idea. And then it gets cut up into collage paper.
Oh,
so it's always happily ever after.
So do you rebuild something? Like, have you ever had to rebuild something to a point because you...
Yeah.
Really?
Maybe this is maturity, but now what I often do is I'll do a sort of, you know, I'll do something like I'll put the color on a piece of acetate and then lay that over and see if I like the way it looks. And then if I like the way it looks, I'll print it. I used to not have the patience to do that. I just do it. And I wound up with a lot of bad prints. I guess I just, my flat files are too full to wind up with too many bad prints. So I test more stuff out. For me, art's an antidote to what's going on in the world. Activism definitely motivates me. I've been doing climate activism for several years, and so that somehow informs my work, although I'm not always sure how. I think my work has a sort of plant-based feel. I think I keep those worlds separate, and I think they influence each other. I act in ways that I feel possibly could be helpful because I feel like I have to do something, and then I come to my studio and I look at color, and it's very restorative. I think, as I said, there's something enlivening about art, whether you're making it or looking at it. And so sharing art is, I don't know, it's kind of a generous act, You sort of do something, and sometimes I'll look at my stuff and I'll say, I don't know, like this might not be any good at all. So it takes a little bit of chutzpah to hang it up. And then, you know, for people to come and just be interested. I mean, they might not even like it, but they're sort of interested. Oh, how did this happen? How did you do this? Or what made this happen? It affords interesting conversations, interesting exchanges between people about stuff that's not the stuff that you normally talk about with people that you don't know. And that's really, that's a kick. I really love that. When open studios, I find, is exhausting, but when those kinds of conversations happen, it's great. I love that. And that can give me a lot of energy. My process is really a collage process, and that's what collage process is about. This sort of layering, like taking small pieces and putting them together. And putting them together in some harmonious way, or some discordant way, if that's what you want, but just like taking pieces. And I guess that's, you know, how I think about the parts of my life too, taking these pieces and putting them together in some way that makes a whole.